Luke, pleasure to meet you in person, bro.
Likewise, man. How long has it been? I mean, I think we met, what was it? Almost maybe a year ago now?
Was it that long ago?
Nah, maybe it was 6 months.
That freaks me out, dude. Time's moving too fast. But we connected originally talking Facebook ads for Labify. But I think like more than anything else, just the whole realm right now of AI and Facebook ads and just running a business right now seems like the Wild West in the sense of like, there's guys right now screaming AI automation to do everything. And then there's people doing it the old fashioned way. It seems like everyone's a bit kind of all over the place. How are you kind of thinking about things right now for yourself?
Dude, it's one of those times where it's just like a ton of change. The landscape's changing, I think, for all businesses, but especially if you're online, especially if you're in online business, online money, if you're in e-com, if you're in D2C, if you're in SaaS or AI or anything like that, the landscape 3 months ago is completely different than it was, than it is today. And it's going to be completely different in 3 months from now. And it's going to really keep going down that line. So it's a little bit exciting. It's a little bit scary overall. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what the future holds on this, man.
Yeah, I'm pumped as well. It's I just had a conversation with a guy who does he runs a recruiting agency for like overseas talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had a conversation with him. He's like a friend of a friend. And I was just curious on his perspective on a few different things and like hiring positions, what would be the right role, whatever. He was like, the number one thing I recommend everyone get right now is an AI automation expert VA.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, some guy that's going to come in your business, know how to use Zapier, know how to use NEN, which I don't even know how to use yet, all the AI agents and all that stuff. But it's just, it's hard to keep up with. There's so much going on.
It's like you need an AI integrator. Yeah. I was looking under the hood of a business right now. It's a service-based business. It does about $20 million a year. And whenever I was breaking it down, it's probably 75% ran by AI and software at this point. And it's a service-based business. It's not a SaaS business. It's a service-based business, but it's backed by so much software and AI. It's like doing probably like 75% margins. Like it was a little bit disgusting whenever I looked at it. And this was someone who I think everyone's unavoidably diving into AI right now because it's like so in your face, like you can't ignore it any longer. But this was from someone who's already been doing it for a year and like hopped on it right whenever it got its first wind. It's like, how can we implement this everywhere? And the result is someone who's figured out how to tie all these different software products, all these different AI agents together. So you have a business that can almost fulfill itself in a lot of ways, which is like a bit terrifying, but it's also quite lucrative if you can crack it, right?
No doubt. I mean, it's very exciting because I don't know. I think from a general public perspective, people are so behind. Yeah. Like if you look at just like the average person and their use cases for AI versus like trying to be more on the cutting edge, like using it for your business and really just like hammering away with ChatGPT and all the other tools. Hopefully we could catch a little wind at our sails and get going before, the general public kind of catches up in some ways.
Yeah, now I'm starting to see like people generally using it to like respond to people. It's like you get a message back that from your girlfriend, your friend, a client that you don't want to answer. And you kind of get like you just tell ChatGPT like the outcome you want. Mm-hmm. And then you take what they said to you and then it will spit something back out and then you can pick the tone and whatever. That's like the first common use that I'm seeing. It's
that's like level one.
How to respond to situations that you don't know what you want to do with. Obviously it goes a lot deeper than that, but like that's the one that tells me that now like my dad and people like that are starting to see it and actually use it and know what it can be used for, right? So I think it's finally getting that mass use where it's not like a scary doomsday buzzword where it's like the internet. People are starting to log on. They're starting to get a home PC, things like that, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot of comparisons to it being just like whenever the internet started.
And it also reminds me too of like the .com bubble in a way. Obviously, like you and me both were a little too young for that in some ways. But when I look back at the similarities of like all these AI companies popping up and like so many of them are just a ChatGPT wrapper that do absolutely nothing different than plug into ChatGPT itself. and they're getting like crazy amounts of funding and everything. It'll be interesting to see if that plays out in a similar way, which, you know, I kind of assume it does.
I bet most of them are going to end up crashing and burning.
Yeah.
But like, if you compare it to the .com boom, right? You think about like Mark Cuban. How did he make his initial fortune? He figured out that he can broadcast games online. And like, we think about that, we're like, wow, that's a novel idea, right? That you can broadcast games online. So it seems obvious now. But like, same thing with AI. There's going to be a lot of obvious use cases in retrospect that are going to stick around. And I've heard it talked about a lot of different ways, but one big one that I've liked is Jeff Bezos compares it, instead of something that's going to be like one deep vertical, like there is the deep vertical of AI, which is like ChatGPT and Claude, these actual companies that are in the business of AI. But the bigger impact is going to be a wide net, similar to the internet. It connects everything. It integrates with every type of business. Pretty much every business right now in the US is on the internet, right? At one point, everything was not on the internet. You know, it was done on paper, it was done in person only. It's going to be the same exact thing with AI, where every single business, whether you're a plumber, whether you're a digital marketing agency, whether you're an e-com brand, you are going to be integrating AI to some way, shape, or form within your business. And again, it's going to be a net that crosses everything.
Yeah. I'm seeing like a lot of like sidekicks come up on different brands, where it's like you have this little agent in the corner of your screen that, I mean, it's a very mundane use case, but you're starting to see like all these different brands and like ton of different verticals come into it. So it'll be interesting.
Go away. I mean, those annoy me, right?
Suck,
like, that's one that I hope goes under, right?
I feel you.
Most of them annoy me.
I feel you. I was actually talking with somebody, a CRO guy, about some ways to increase CRO for Labify. And he was like, I think you should do one of those AI sidekicks. And I was like, dude, those things kind of suck.
Yeah.
But it's interesting nonetheless. But I was in this exact seat a few weeks ago with the founder of Bleacher Report, the sporting app. And I asked him, he's been real into AI and on the cutting edge of this stuff, just out of curiosity. And I asked him, like, if there was anything he kind of sees as these, like, you know, hidden opportunities within the niche. And what he said, which I thought was so interesting, was like large language model SEO and kind of optimizing your website to get picked up by ChatGPT. And I'm sure you saw like the shopping features that are coming out with all that stuff. I mean, there's just so many different rabbit holes you could fall into.
Yeah, I think I've seen that a lot of people are trying to get into ChatGPT's SEO, like they're just like Google instead of, and I've done this a couple of times too. I'll say like, what is the top X business? And then just so I can search and figure out who they are, because it's going to give you a little summary of who they are, right? Super useful. There's a lot of people that are trying to compete for that real estate, right? So think like my business. It's like, I want the best D2C agency for e-com brands that want to run Facebook ads. It's like, okay, cool. People are typing that in right now and they're using it to guide their decision. So if you can be number one for some reason or another right now, that can be, you know, it's probably not going to change your life, but it is like a good opportunity. And it might snowball into what a number one Google result is, which is priceless right now, right? So I think that's where it could go. I think right now for any business, if you can figure out how to integrate it into your business like very deeply, faster than everyone else can right now, that's where the real money is for the everyday business person or the everyday entrepreneur, or even someone who's like an entrepreneur in a business. If you can figure out a way to take these tools and integrate them into what you already are doing, there's such a huge advantage and margin to all the people that are doing things the old way still. Like you can basically put a moat around your business compared to your competitors. You can do things 20 to 50 times more efficient, make 20 to 50 times more profit, and then just really spread that gap between you and your competition.
And there's no doubt about it. And I even think about things from like an agency perspective. Like you can do that from an agency model.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you could
absolutely
absolutely kill it, in the sense of like, you know, you are a AI automation expert and you go into businesses and do an audit of all their systems and fill in the gaps where AI can fill in the gaps. Like that is an incredible opportunity right now. If you're like a young kid who's on top of these things, it's big time. How do you kind of start your agency? Because I think a lot of people hear that, and they're like, I don't know how the hell to get clients though.
Yeah,
It's not obvious for people.
It was an accident. I think it's always fun when it's a little bit of an accident. So I was working for a small startup in my hometown, which is St. Louis. And I was exposed to Facebook ads for the first time, right? And I saw what it was like to create an ad, run a campaign, try to get someone to do something, whether it be like to purchase or whether it be to submit a lead. And I found it to be interesting. Like, whenever you're young, you're trying to figure out what you like, right? Yep. And I started out, that firm that I was at was a financial firm because I thought I was into finance. I found out in like 3 months, I'm like, I hate finance. Like, this stuff's so boring to me. There's so much regulation. There's so much red tape. It doesn't let you do anything creative for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I found how they were trying to get clients, which was through Facebook ads, right? And I saw where you can kind of try to figure out creative ways to get people to opt in and work with you or submit a lead, whatever it may be, right? And then I decided, like, wow, I think that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then going down to YouTube rabbit hole, finding all types of videos from all types of people who are in the space. And then I think I came across e-com at some point, and I'm like, I think that sounds cooler than finance, kind of like Facebook ads. I think I did like 1,000 pieces of cold outreach to businesses until I found an e-com brand that was ran by these two like older gentlemen that like made a unique product, but they didn't necessarily know how to market it. So I essentially came in there as like a fractional CMO. I was like doing everything for their online presence, essentially on a profit share, able to grow them quite substantially, right? Going from like a 5-figure business to a 7-figure business, right? So like a pretty good jump, over a year. And I was on profit share, so I was doing well. And I was just reinvesting all that money into building up a team, trying to get more clients, and then like went from more of a fractional CMO to becoming more of like an agency. And then again, bringing on a team, trying to find people, teach them, hire them. However, I could convince them to work with me out of my garage for the most part. And then, that's how I ended up in the agency space. And it's funny, you do a lot of evolutions, right? Like, you think you're going to end up one way, and then you end up another, right? Like, you're just go through different iterations. Starts out, you want to do Google, or you want to do SEO, or you want to build websites. And you're like, wait, I hate all that. And it's really hard to make money. And then you find kind of that niche that you're in. And through probably 10 evolutions of that, now we're a D2C agency, and we do two things. We make ads and we run ads. And we only do those on paid social platforms. So like Meta and TikTok. If it's outside of that, we really don't want to touch it. And we only do it for e-com brands. And then it's even niche down further than that. Like, what revenue amounts do you work with? Do you want to work with brands that just start out, or do you want to work with brands that are trying to go from 1 to 10 versus 0 to 1, right? And now we're at the point where we're only working with brands that are established. And then like, you keep niching down on that target customer over time, and keep iterating. So like, whenever you're first starting out, you may be way different than whenever you end down the line. So
I love that point from Naval where he says it's not the 10,000 hours, it's the 10,000 iterations.
Yeah.
Because where you start in anything, as long as you're somewhat intelligent and like gritty enough to keep going and keep iterating, you're going to figure it out. Like, it's not this rocket science that we make it out to be in our head, like before the starting line. You can do it.
If you're in rocket science, or you're in AI and you're a developer, then maybe it is really hard. But if you're like in anything else, like if you're in e-com, if you're in advertising, if you're in any service-based business, someone's probably done it. Whether you can find it online or whether you can find someone who's done it successfully, no one's building rockets here. It's really just about execution, which is the hard part for most people.
And so you said you grew this brand in a matter of a year from a 5-figure a month business to a 7-figure a month business.
Yeah.
How'd you do it?
Completely niche business. I'm not going to dox them because I'm dropping the numbers of them. But it's a combination of things, right? Number one, coming up with a really great offer. Number two,
how do you let's break that down real quick for people that don't know. How do you think about creating the offer?
Interesting. I mean, it's a lot of research. It's all going to start with research and understanding who is that customer. What are they willing to spend? What are the features and the parts of an offer that make them tick? You almost have to start with the person, and then you build the offer around the person. A lot of people are like, I'm going to build an offer and I'm going to sell it to this person. It's the other way around. Really, you want to nail down on one single type of person with one single type of problem. And people even do this exercise and they're like, all right, I want 20-year-olds. It's like, no, that's not even close enough, right? I have a friend who's pretty successful in a couple of different verticals already. He's like 22 and the guy's already been successful in like SaaS, e-com, founded, exited. He's like, the e-com is his quote. E-com brands today that are successful, it's like you're not in skincare. You are someone who is making a skincare product for 20-year-old Asian women that have troubles with early signs of aging. Like, it's like extremely niche who you need to be going after. Build a product around that extremely niche person. You can probably go even deeper than that. And then you build that offer around them and sell it to them, right? And then they're going to naturally gravitate to it because you built everything around them. You're using the language that they want to hear. And it's going to be much more appealing than if they were just going to get something off the shelf.
Totally.
Yeah. The other thing is people don't want stuff off the shelf, like stuff that's a Unilever brand or any of these big CPG brands that go towards the masses. If your product doesn't differentiate far enough away from them, they're not going to go out of their way to order it from a Shopify store and send it over to their house. It needs to be something that's like extremely niche that solves their problem perfectly, or else they're never going to go for it. They're just going to grab the shit that's on the grocery store shelf, right? So back to the brand that I was talking about, the first initial start that I had in the e-com space, it was exactly that. I can tell you it was in the sporting goods space, right? And they really had no idea what they were doing. The guys were like product designers, but they knew nothing about marketing, right? So like they knew how to make good products, but they didn't know how to frame those products in a way that actually attracted people. They didn't know how to create upsells. They didn't know how to create lifetime value. They didn't know how to build a website or Shopify store, right? Like it was like that bad, right? Like they didn't even really. They had like the blank Shopify store that they give you whenever you first start out, like the white and black background that anyone who's
Dawn.
Dawn. Yeah, they had the Dawn theme, right? And so they basically were doing probably everything wrong, but they're sharp guys in their own right. They just knew nothing about e-com or selling online. And then that's where bringing in the scrappy 22-year-old kid who is a digital native compared to an older gentleman that isn't, right? That's where that perfect combination comes in. Like you understand the technology, you understand the internet, you understand how to sell, you've bought stuff online. They know how to make a great product, but they know nothing about the internet. That's where those two things come together. You handle one and they handle the other. And that's where, it really starts coming together.
It's fantastic, dude. And I think, do you think like Hormozi's offers book is a good place for guys to get started there? Like, what's your thoughts on, because there's like guarantees, there's some stuff that people have differentiating opinions on.
Yeah, people are going to, like, who am I to speak on this? Because Alex Hormozi is a really successful guy. But the issue is his reach is so wide right now that like when he releases something, so many people gravitate towards it till it almost stops working, right? Like the no-brainer offer thing. Like it doesn't work. I run these offers, right? They don't work like they used to. It's like now you have people who are saying like, it'll work, or I'll give you your money back. Wire you $10,000, come to your house, wash your car, and bake cookies for your grandma. Like that's how ridiculous it's getting, with these offers, right? And because so many people are employing these strategies that once worked, the people that are now successful are the ones that are being creative beyond that. Like he starts the new meta, right? And everyone starts gravitating towards it to the point where it's worn out. And if you want to be successful, everyone read that book, everyone,
Literally.
So like the strategies, sure, are they like fundamentally sound? Yeah, but are they going to get you outsized returns when everyone else is doing them? No, because you're doing the same thing everyone else is. Yeah, it's a great book though.
No, it's a good book.
And he's a sharp guy. I love
Yeah, but I think it's such a great point that like it's so niche dependent because there's so niche. There's some niches that are so far behind with stuff like that I think it could be super useful. But I think what you were saying before was such an important point of just like going beyond and using your own mind with it. Like for example, easy example that everyone will understand is like the Hormozi captions even. Hormozi had the style of caption and then every single person copied it. But there's nuance there that like you kind of have to put your own flair, your own touch to it, or it's just going to be 1 in a million.
Now it might as well be the cap cut.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not anything especially special anymore, when everyone starts gravitating towards that. One thing I like about him and one thing that like I used at the beginning unknowingly, right? I didn't invent it, but like at the beginning, whenever you don't know what you're doing, you just kind of have to brute force it. Like what I had to do to get the first person to talk to me, this is actually kind of funny story. So I decided I wanted to work in e-com, and I decided I wanted to get into advertising, and I'd launched a couple of Facebook ads. I like knew how to pull up Ads Manager, and like I knew how to use Photoshop badly, right? Like it's not exactly like a D2C Titan skill set, right? Like built came a long way, right?
Yeah.
But at the beginning, you kind of have to work with what you got.
No doubt.
But at the beginning, when I was just starting out, I'm like, I want to run ads for e-com brands. And it's like, okay, now what? Right. I didn't have a personal brand at the time. I didn't have my TikTok. I didn't have these ways that we get clients. I didn't have referral networks. So basically what I did is I pulled up my phone. I did the old Excel sheet, and I probably reached out to 2,000 or 3,000 brands, whether it was like annoying them on their Instagram brand account. Like, you know, do you need better help with ads? Like just like really horrible scripts, probably cold email. Basically, I probably did 2,000 touch points, which really isn't a lot at the end of the day. And that's what I was talking about with Hormozy. It's like just brute force it. You have to do a lot of touch points, like way more than you think. It's not 20, it's thousands. Doing thousands of messages is taking a few days and doing nothing but sending messages that day, essentially, whenever they're all custom made for the most part, right? I reached out to all these brands. I finally get a bite from one of the two founders of that first brand that I worked with. They said, yep, I'm interested. I'm not the one that works with that, though. It's the other founder that's going to work with that. I'm like, cool. Can I get their information? And then they didn't reply to me ever again, right? And so you can either say, oh, I guess I lost that lead, or you can say, okay, I'm going to stalk this guy and find every single detail about his life that I can until I find out who his co-founder is. Found the co-founder, messaged him, never got a response from him. I could have stopped there. I didn't stop there. I got White Pages.
Oh,
it's what I think it's
White Pages.
Yeah, White Pages, right? Found all of the information of this guy's family who handles that part of the business, right? Found all their phone numbers. I think I called 6 phone numbers. I think I called his wife, all of his kids. I think I called his uncle, trying to figure out who he was. And then if I found out I got the wrong person, like I got a woman and I knew it was a guy, I was like, hung up. Until I finally got him on the phone on one of them, and like probably did again a horrible cold call, and told them essentially what I wanted to do. I'm like, all I want to do is get you on a call. Like I built this huge master plan for how we're going to grow your business. I think I spent like 4 hours building this whole proposal. All I want is 30 minutes of your time to show you how I probably told them some ridiculous $1 million offer. We're going to double your business in 30 days, right? Anyways, they ended up going on that proposal call. That 30-minute call, I think I dragged it out to like 3 hours, telling them about how I'm going to change their life. I was so excited, so green, saying how I was going to change everything. And they ended up taking me up on it.
Hell yeah.
But again, that's if I would have quit 2,000 cold DMs somewhere along the way, or whenever I got ghosted once, twice, I called all their family members, you know, I want to have my business today, right? And so I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they give up somewhere along that initial mud whenever they're trying to get that first dollar in their pocket, that most people never get there. They do all that typical shit where they like make an LLC before they ever make any money. They make a bank account, they contact a lawyer, right? Like all this stuff, right? All this intro level entrepreneur stuff. And then they lose somewhere along the way. They never get that first dollar in, right? And so I think that's where a lot of people struggle. And it's like, after you get that first dollar, after you get that proof of concept, I mean, first off, it feels amazing whenever you first do it, and you're probably never going to feel that same high in entrepreneurship again. But it proves that, you know, you can actually get someone to buy this from you. It's such a confidence boost. And then you can leverage that into getting the next client.
Yeah. Welcome to the world of cold outreach. Am I right, dude?
I hate cold outreach. Yeah. I don't do it anymore, but I had to then, you know?
I have this, I'm really glad that you brought this up, because I've been chewing on this philosophy that a lot of guys don't do that, and they fail to do that, not because they're not willing to do that, but because they've been conditioned from high school and middle school of reaching out to girls. And like, they have this philosophy around like, they can't seem too needy. They can't seem like they want it.
Yeah.
Which is a complete opposite for business. Like, if I get a cold DM from someone and they DM me 8 times, and then on the 8th time they make a custom thumbnail for the podcast, I'm gonna take the call, even if I don't want to, just like out of respect for the work that they put in.
Yeah.
It's this whole different philosophy that guys kind of mess up on, I think, just because growing up they tried to seem too cool with girls and stuff, and they put those two things together as the same, where they're two totally different worlds.
It works with girls, but yeah. Like
two different worlds.
If you act like you don't want it, they give it to you for free kind of deal, right? Yeah, it doesn't work it works in some cases in business, but not that one. Especially when you have no money, no clients, like you have to be a junkyard dog whenever you're first starting out and pretty much do anything you can. I would have sold that first client, and I think I got lucky where like that client actually ended up being like great money, but like I would have sold them anything. Like they told me they'll pay me $100 to do anything online. Not anything, but you get what I mean. Like anything from an e-com standpoint online for their business. I absolutely would have probably done it, right? And it ended up going a little bit better, but I had plenty of scrappy $200 sales after that, right? I definitely didn't just like home run and keep home running. I had 10 shitty, unprofitable clients probably after that. I just happened to have one really good one to start, which is great. And if I hadn't, I still would have at least gotten $1 and I probably would have kept going, right? Just because you got it started.
Yeah, just have to figure it out. Just takes one.
Yeah.
Just takes one. And then that lead system though, obviously it completely evolves over time. Has it, like right now for you, is it all from the TikTok, Instagram, from warm content?
I'm a huge believer in momentum, right? So one cool thing about as you become a business and as you do good work, and if you prioritize actually getting people results and not just doing some shitty ass business, what drop servicing, right? You white label everything. Nothing's actually yours. That doesn't really work, right? Especially in the long term. You might be able to make a couple of bucks.
Especially nowadays with tariffs and everything that's going on right now. It's not the way.
No control of your work quality. But as time goes on, the momentum piece is you get referrals. That's a huge one. And then not only do you get referrals from your client to other clients, but you also make strategic partnerships, whether like you mean to or not. I have a lot of people where I sent them a couple of clients for their business. They sent me a couple of clients for my business. Like before we know it, we kind of have a good thing going here, whether it's like a spoken agreement, whether we just happen to send each other a lot of business and we became friends somewhere along that process. That's a huge way of us getting business, right? Second piece is content. I'm a huge believer in personal brands. I think they're taxing as hell to make a good one. And I've spent probably thousands and thousands of hours making not a huge personal brand, but an extremely lucrative personal brand because I'm an authority in a really small niche in one platform. And that's enough to make $1 million business. That's literally, I mean, it's crazy that that's all it takes is like, if you just make a ton of content on one single platform, on one single subject, enough people are going to trust you as the expert to where they're going to want to buy from you. So that's the two ways that we're getting business right now. It's like, people that we've done great work with that are coming back or sending us their friends. Or just we're getting people from making content on TikTok, Instagram, or even I'm starting to dabble into some other stuff. But the thing is, you can only do so many of them good.
100%.
It's really hard to do any of them or multiple good unless you're Hermosi and you've got 60K.
Yeah, you have a crazy team
every month. Right.
No doubt. But I mean, it's such a great point, and I think that people don't realize how lucrative it is to be like a micro authority in a niche. You can build such a big brand, especially with high ticket.
Yeah.
And if you just go really deep into one thing, you don't even need to have 10,000 followers. There's people with 2,000 followers that are making 20K a month, just because they're so hyper focused on one particular avenue. It's a great point.
Yeah. I'm stealing someone else's quote, and I'm not going to cite them properly, but I can get someone can fill this in for me, right? It's better to have 1,000 raving fans than it is to have 1 million people who like you.
Kevin Kelly.
Yeah. There we go. And I think I heard it from someone else who probably didn't cite him, right? And he might have heard it from someone else.
Yeah, literally 1,000 true fans.
Yeah.
1,000 true fans.
I think if you have that 1,000 raving fans, and like I have definitely closer to that than 1 million people who like me. You can sell something to them, right? And they'll support you with their dollars, and they'll vote for you with their dollars, right? And you can build a business on that. And
no doubt.
Especially as we get into AI, right? I hear a lot of people saying this, and I think it's a little bit more nuanced than this, but like we're going to move towards a world where like the two biggest pieces of leverage that you can have in business are AI, personal brand. The thing that is is key to automating all as much as possible. And then the one thing that really can't be automated in an authentic way.
That pause was deserved because it's so important. I think that's it, right? Like if you're a young guy that doesn't know what direction to go in, those two avenues,
they're not bad ones right now.
They're not bad ones to get into, especially with the weirdness of everything right now. Like you think about going to law school, like for example.
Yeah.
You know, traditionally a very safe, lucrative path. Right now, that freaks me out. Like now, I do not know if the ROI is going to be there.
I think it's a horrible time to be a middle manager, lawyer, accountant, any like knowledge worker, any service-based worker that's not like in the trades. I think if you're just really rolling into any of those niches right now, it's a rough time unless you're the guy who's figuring out how to leverage.
Yeah, unless you have a moat.
Yeah, or if you're just extremely scrappy and you're like, okay, I'm coming into accounting, I'm coming into law, I'm figuring out how I can leverage the hell out of AI or a personal brand. Okay, cool, you're probably going to make money. But the way I'm seeing it go, and I'm not, this is an original thought again, but we're seeing a purge of the middle manager, a purge of like the facilitator. You have like two things. I think we're going to enter into a world where it's like executors, AI, Filipinos. like it's literally going to be like
the big three.
Yeah. It's going to be like, it's literally going to be like founders and killers, 8 players who know how to run the strategy and know how to execute. It's going to be AI to automate all of the middle manager positions. And then it's going to be like outsourced cheap labor to execute those little manual tasks that we can't have someone do already with AI.
That is it right there.
I'm seeing a lot of businesses like that already.
That's
75% margin business that I was just talking about. What do you think it is? It's like there's department heads, like the people that run the show, almost exec level, not quite, but almost exec level. Let's say like senior upper management. And then execution through AI and through outsourced labor. That's how I'm seeing a lot of these service-based, knowledge-based businesses work right now.
Yeah. I know somebody who got hired by a big-time startup, lot of money, and his sole job was to come in and to take all the key players and to fill their roles with VAs. Was to talk to them and be like, all right, what are you doing on a day-to-day? Let's just iron this out. Went through the entire company. And then they just 10x'd by I think they're the #1 SEO health brand. Like if you look up anything, it's going to come up with this brand.
Yeah.
And it is because they leveraged that strategy that you were just mentioning and did it flawlessly.
The people that do it well, it's like we think about your business, my business, we think about any of our businesses and we say, hey, there's all these complicated bundles of tasks that we need to do in order to push the agenda forward. But the people that are winning in what you're talking about as far as automating and delegating it out to these third party or these offshore, labor fields, whatever it may be, right? They're really good at breaking down those complex initiatives that we're doing to push it forward into like micro tasks that are really repeatable, that we're documenting the SOPs around, that we're telling them exactly how to do it. And then once we break it down into individual tasks that are repeatable, that's whenever you can feed it over to a VA. That's whenever you can feed it to AI, right? So we all like to think, again, what we're doing is complicated, where we're building rockets and we're launching to the moon. For the most part, we can break that down into like the little subtasks about building that rocket, right? And as long as we can train on those and as long as we can repeat those and build a Loom video around those, then you can outsource those. And some people are getting really, really dangerously good at, which is a little scary because it's like, all right, what's left to do for everybody else?
Yeah.
But, it's the way it's going. Me or you getting in the way of that isn't going to stop it.
Yeah. There's going to be billion-dollar brands that are one guy in the team of VAs.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think one is going to happen. Yeah. I think like we're really close to 5. Like, like if a business is essentially breaks down into a few different like key things that need to get done in order for you to get people to keep paying you money, right? And I think there needs to still be at least one person that's running each of these initiatives. Like, typically if you have a service, right? Let's take Labify, right? Let's take that down. We have 1, the tests, and then we have 2, the consultation piece that you want to do. Like you're probably always going to need like one person running each of those little pieces. So you could probably do it with 2 in 10 years. You know what I mean? Like for me with my business, it's like we have a couple of different pieces of the business. We have media buying, we have content creation, and then say we have like the street interview piece, right? It's like you're probably going to need a head on all 3 of those at all times. But outside of that, you can probably get it down to where it's only the people on the ground floor after that. It's like, again, the people running the show, the people on the ground floor fulfilling the actual labor.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, it's fascinating direction. It's really scary when you think about things from a philosophical bird's eye perspective, from a business owner perspective, and the tactical today. Very exciting. Also incredibly terrifying. Yeah, but move fast. Time will tell.
Move fast.
It's move fast.
I think we have like like a year before like we're kind of like if you haven't been implementing, there's going to be a moat. There's going to be a moat that's really hard to cross if you're just trying to get in a year from now and you're just trying to figure out how you can implement AI. You're just trying to figure out how you can optimize your business. It's like you're going to be going against people that have all the market share. They're twice as profitable. They just can't. You can't compete with that. So I think it's just going to only get harder if you don't hop in right now where there's this huge opportunity. Felt like I just had like this awakening a couple of months ago whenever I started seeing these businesses that are implementing, like knew about ChatGPT. I found little ways that I could implement in my business, but I didn't figure out that those little ways that I could implement into my business can also talk to each other and work together to like actually just do it. You know what I mean? And then as soon as I've seen that, I'm like, oh my gosh, we better hop on this or else it's going to be too late.
Yeah. Those agents, man.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's crazy.
It's worth exploring for anybody out there, whether you have a business or not. We're checking out.
My girlfriend is she's a dietitian. So this is probably more in your realm than it is mine. But like she was super against using AI because she's like, oh, it's kind of like cheating whenever I'm trying to help people. Like, no, it helps you process information faster. It helps you get that mundane task of like building out this big meal plan off of your back.
Oh yeah.
And then all you can do is focus on the important stuff, which is like the counseling, the face-to-face stuff for you right now. So again, it's starting to get to the point where we're getting more adoption. We're getting it in different fields. And you better hurry up because one dietitian is spending 30 hours a week building out these plans. The other one has a custom bot that's trained on each individual person and already knows all the stuff that they need. And then all you have to do is focus on the half an hour meeting that you're actually with the person and telling them how to implement.
That's what's up. So we're going back to what we were talking about before with how you grew that first initial business from 5 figures to 7 figures. We went on quite a long tangent there. I'm a
tangenter.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We started with offers of creating a really good offer around the brand and positioning that offer. What were those other levers? Because I kind of cut you off and I didn't let you finish that thought.
Yeah. I can try to break back into it. But one of the things that you're going to find, I'm sure you found already, is with entrepreneurs, we all have some ADD, right? And so I'll ramp around.
It's a superpower and a flaw.
Yeah, superpower and a flaw, absolutely. I think in a lot of ways I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't have it, right? Yep. I would have fit too well into the square peg, and I probably would have just stayed on the path. You
exactly.
know what I mean?
That's a big part of it.
Yeah. Not being able to pay attention on the thing they want me to pay attention to ended up being a good thing.
Being way too bored with the job.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, like breaking it down, it was bringing a business to the point where it was up to speed digitally, right? Like we broke it down. Like all we did was take someone who didn't understand how to use the internet. We taught them how to use the internet, and then we taught them how to position an offer, which honestly, that was trial and error. It's not like I knew it at the time. All I did was just keep throwing shit at the wall until finally something stuck. I didn't have any patterns. I didn't have any frameworks that I used. All this stuff that I have today, you can walk into a business and you can probably start seeing, oh yeah, I tried this in an industry that was kind of like that. It did work. It didn't work. And then I tried another thing in a different business, and now, that absolutely worked. And then you can kind of you can kind of use that model in your head to figure out, hey, what's more than likely going to work for this business? And that's all someone is who's trained and has been in an industry for a long time, is they've just seen so much stuff that they already know the little things that probably will or won't work. And therefore, they're able to take a really educated guess whenever they make a move within a business. Whenever we craft an ad for your business, I've already crafted an ad for 1,000 other businesses, and I've seen the ones flop. I've seen the ones do well in different industries, and I can apply that information to making a really good ad for you. But at the beginning, you're just really throwing shit at the wall, and you're trying all different stuff. I'm looking at competitors, and I'm just ripping their ad one for one and seeing if that worked. That's a really common thing in advertising. Oh, they did it. I'm going to do it. Coke, Pepsi, same thing, right? But really what it boiled down to was a persistent throwing stuff at the wall. I think that same client, I probably could fulfill, like with my team, 3 or 4 hours a week in like manpower, whether it be like myself or someone on my team who's skilled. Back then, I would have spent 50 hours on your business trying to figure it out, right? Yeah. Like grinding through YouTube videos, treating it like it was my own, right? And I think that's another
important part.
Yeah, that's like another power in growing a business in itself, is like, if you're willing just to outwork everybody and with the assumption that you're competent, you'll win. You'll beat people that are lazier. You'll beat people that are slower. You'll beat people that don't care as much. If you just care more and you just spend more hours on it, if I'm willing to spend, 50 hours for every 8 to 10 that someone else is, I'm going to win. Like eventually, maybe not now, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but eventually I'm going to beat you. And that's really what it came down to. I call it white knuckling my way to success, right?
It's
like
important.
just doing everything you can. I didn't care if I had to split test 1,000 different landing pages, 1,000 different products, 1,000 different ads. I would have done it. And that's how we were able to get that off the ground whenever I didn't know anything about what I was doing.
Doing the unscalable is so important because there's a part of you that when you're doing that and you're in the thick of it, you're like, how the hell am I going to grow this business? Because it's taking me 50 hours to do this one brand. Yeah. And I don't know how is this possibly going to work at all at scale to make even 10K a month? Yeah. But it takes that unscalable to then become scalable in the end. Yeah. And it's such an important note. And I think so many people are afraid to do the unscalable because they have heard you want to do work on your business and not in your business. And they don't think that it's the path forward, whereas it's a necessary evil, especially at the beginning.
And that's good advice for some people. Yeah. Whenever you have a business, whenever you have revenue, what gets you here isn't going to get you there. Like that's a very, very true saying. But at the beginning, like you don't have shit. You haven't earned shit. Like you're just gonna have to grind it out and figure out how you can get some momentum. You have to force momentum. Once momentum's there, it's a lot easier than when it's not there. But that like initial getting the ball rolling is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Yeah.
Takes a lot of energy to start the roll of the boulder. Yeah. But it's a lot less energy once you got it rolling.
And then you can decide how far you want to push. Because like, to be honest with you, not everyone's built to like do a business that makes 50, 100, $1 million, whatever the number, the number keeps going up. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like I have like, if you're anyone who's into whatever, goal setting, manifestation, you call it a lot of different things. A lot of people have different terms for a lot of shit that boils down to the same thing, in my opinion, right? But like whenever I first started my business, it's like, wow, if I made $10,000 a month, old 10K a month, which unfortunately is becoming less and less now, right? The old 10K a month profit in my business, I'll be happy, right? And I have in that same little journal, right? I think it was probably a few months later, I'm like, listen, if I could do $25,000 a month, I would be complacent. I would be happy. Like that's where I would stop, right? Didn't stop. You know what I mean? And then you keep doing that. And then you get to the point where you're like, okay, shit. After you have enough money to eat, drive a car you like, buy some shit that you like, it doesn't really matter anymore anyways. And then you kind of have to just figure out what is the reason that you really want to do it. And that's kind of that's honestly where I've been in the last like year or two. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, I'm a very, very middle class kid from Missouri. My standard of living wasn't especially high in the things that I wanted. very quickly got to the point where I'm like, wow, I don't know what I would do with this money. And it's not like it's that much money. You know what I mean? It's like after I got past like my standard, which was like parent, that was a blue collar mechanic, single parent blue collar mechanic salary. After I got past like a little bit more than that and what felt good as far as standard of living, it becomes chips at that point. Like it just doesn't matter anymore. I don't have any desire to live that much higher than that. Right. And then it brings you back to what do I actually want to do? What am I actually doing here? You know, like, do I like this business? Is this a business I like? Do I like what I do every day? Because like, that's a big piece of success. It's are you doing something that you like to do every day, or do you hate your life every day? Because no, you don't want to hate your life every day, no matter what you're getting paid. There's not enough money that's gonna keep you doing that.
100%. And it's a hard thing to figure out. Like, I think I came to the conclusion that like, you know, I just like developing skills and I like doing the strategy and just like, that's fun to me.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people, there's so much, I don't know what word you would call it, like throwing people on social media, throwing money in their face in terms of the creators. Like, I love a lot of Iman's content, but for example, Iman Godzi, so many kids aspire to have like that level of watches, the cars, the lifestyle. Whereas, you know, those things kind of are empty. Like they're very empty. They're very empty, and they're bad desires, and they're chasing success for those things and not for the skills and the person you become from that.
I agree, and I'm split on this. I've thought about this a lot, and I completely agree. You'll find out that a lot of that's empty, but I almost think that in order to figure out what you like, sometimes that can be a good motivator.
Oh yeah.
And so I try to mentor this group of kids from my college. So there's like a program, the Young Entrepreneurs. You know what I mean, right? And one of the things I told them is like at the beginning, I wanted to make money. I found out that I like D2C, e-com, and advertising after I started using it as a vessel to make me money. If I never would have wanted a little bit of money, which wasn't again that much, I just wanted like enough money to really get by and have a decent life. That's whenever I found the thing that I wanted, right? And if I had not picked that original thing that I wanted to just make money on, I wouldn't have originally found the thing after that, right? Which is a little bit of like a counterintuitive way of getting there, but exactly what you said, like watches, cars, don't do anything. I bought a watch, did me 60 minutes of pleasure. And I'm like, this thing's cool. And then I'm like, all right, now what? Like, you know,
now I'm in New York City. I'm scared to wear it.
Yeah. Now watches in pockets. Yeah. But yeah, man, it really doesn't come down to that at the end. I think a big piece of it, like you said, is finding something that you like and doing that every day and spending your time doing things that you like with people you like.
Totally.
It's my best definition so far. I'm in progress still.
Yeah. It's a hard thing to figure out, but I think you made a really good point that it almost takes you doing the thing for the wrong reasons to get there for you doing it for the right reasons.
A motivator, an external motivator, right? Whether that be like, wow, if I had status, I could get a girlfriend. Like to a degree, you need some of that, right? Now, I think the level is whenever the scale gets a little bit too off, right?
Totally.
You keep looking at the next number, and then you find out that you've built a company that makes you want to kill yourself. Like, you know, like that's
there's a lot of those out there. A lot of people.
My business has been that, you know, bi-monthly sometimes, right? And that's whenever you have to reel it in and make
figure
it something,
things out.
Yeah. And like, and build stuff into your business. Like you almost have to plan for it. Like in the way that you give yourself free time, and ideally you should plan some free time, at least at certain points in your life, right? You also need to figure out the things that you like about your business. And so that's what I do. It's like, oh, the clients that I really like, I still want to talk to those clients. Like, I don't care how big I got. I can spend 5 hours of my week working with the people that I like, working on the businesses that I enjoy or I feel some personal affinity to. It's like, if I like using that product, yeah, I could give it to an account manager. Yeah, I could give it to a media buyer. Yeah, I could give it to one of my team who I feel like is really talented. But like, I want to do not only some of the business just so I can stay involved in it, but I also just want to work with the people in the businesses that I like to work with that originally got me into this in the first place.
Yeah. You even take your own sales calls still.
Yeah. You know, I think that's one of the last things that I'll get rid of though. I think that's like, it sets you up for success or failure based on who we work with. Remember what happened whenever I talked to you? I said, hey, it's probably not a fantastic fit right now.
Which I very much appreciated. We went through all my numbers, my offer, and you kind of gave me this roadmap of like, here's where you are. You know, I think that this is the place you need to be before we work together. Yeah. And I don't want to take you on as a client right now because I don't think the ROI would be there for you. And that was so appreciated from me. Like it's a great way to do business when you're not desperate for taking on whoever and taking their money, even though you're not confident that you can help them at that time.
It's all relationships at the end of the day, right? And like, so while I didn't get you to put a couple $1,000s from your pocket into my pocket that day, what we did become is friends with a mutual level of trust, right? And that brings us to why we're here today. And then whenever you inevitably do get the business to where it needs to be, who do you come back to? You would come back to me because I'm the guy who shot you straight and I'm the one that you could trust. And say that I never become a great fit for you. The business pivots, or you find out your best friend is a media buyer or has an agency and you go with him. At least one thing you're going to do is whenever someone asks about me, the space is small, the world's smaller than you think it is on the internet. When you're asked about me or you have a friend who's looking for what I sell, I'm going to be the guy that you offer, right? Or I'm going to be the guy that you refer that person to, right? And that stuff is immensely valuable. Like I'll find that there will be 5 people that I know that I met and I did right in some way, shape, or form, whether they worked with me or whether I told them not to work with me or whether I hooked them up with someone that could help them. Those 5 people will send me so much business that it's like, it just outweighs any amount of money I could have taken from them in that transaction when it wasn't the right time yet. Yeah. And I've played this simulation out plenty of times where I've taken people's money that probably should not have given me their money, whether I knew it or not, right? Whether I was like, hey, it's going to be a bad fit, but I want your money. Whether it's that or whether it's a situation where I didn't know any better because I was too green, right? Whenever I did take that money and I did play the simulation out, I find out in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you're like, fuck this guy. You know what I mean? Whether can I cuss on this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You find out that, well, you had robbed the bank on there. I know he didn't go PG, right? So, but yeah. So, yeah, dude, when I did that, it always ended up bad. So then you learn and you're better off guiding people in the right direction.
Totally. You broke things down for me in such like I loved the way you did it because you're like, look, you haven't ran ads yet. Your business has been 100% organic. And there is a very likely scenario here that we run that you pay me, the retainer, and then we have ad spend on top of that. And we're 3 months in and you have sunk $15,000 into this thing.
At least.
And we haven't seen much success.
Yeah.
And breaking things down from that way and being like just so transparent about it was just it calibrated my thinking in such a different way to be like, okay, let's lean into what's working instead of trying the next shiny object of Facebook ads because everyone else tells me, if you get it, you get it.
Yeah, you crack it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a millionaire.
Yeah,
all of a sudden you're Mungazzi, you know what I mean?
Which everyone tells you, but it's a much appreciated perspective, and I appreciated you doing that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And again, especially whenever you're at like an organic stage, sometimes you do find ads and sometimes you do crack it, but there's often steps that you can take before that, right? There's often steps that you can take to prove it out more beforehand. Now that your offer's iterated, right? And you found like how you can get into a niche even better than you did previously, then it becomes maybe a time where you are ready for ads now, or you can test them out even yourself before you hire an outside agency. But like, I think so many people get down this path. It's like, I need to run Facebook ads. I don't know how to run Facebook ads. I'm going to hire someone to run my Facebook ads. And then you get like, some dude who just watched an Iman Ghatzi video and doesn't really care about you and just
wanted an agency.
Yeah.
But speaking of Iman, there's a interesting thing going on right now with, Iman versus Hormozi, 2 guys we mentioned in this episode with WAP and School, 2 complete competing platforms, which it's so interesting right now, like this digital products education space.
Yeah.
I mean, from a business perspective in terms of like, it's just pure profit.
Yeah.
It's you don't have inventory costs. You don't have a lot of hard costs associated with it. It's a really interesting niche. It comes across a lot of times, I think, as very scammy.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, but it's just a fascinating medium right now.
I agree. Obviously, did you go to school?
To college?
Yeah.
I went to University of Miami.
Nice.
Florida. What about you?
You went all the way through?
Yeah.
Nice. I went to a couple different schools. I went to 3 different colleges, but I ended up graduating from a school in Kentucky, and then I went to St. Louis University and got my master's. But I think one of the biggest issues is right now, obviously, standardized education sucks, right? Like,
yeah, I didn't learn anything.
Yeah. What do you get? What type of degree?
Just a associate's bachelor's degree.
Yeah. But like, what was your?
Just general business.
Yeah. Same, right? And what do you learn about business? You learned the 4 P's of marketing.
I learned a SWOT analysis.
Yeah, you learned
that was the most helpful. That was the most helpful thing I learned.
I've used that a couple of times.
Yeah,
right?
no,
probably could have been a 10-minute YouTube video, but here we are.
Could have put it in ChatGPT.
Yeah. ChatGPT just does it for me now, you know.
No, exactly.
But anyways, a big piece of this, I think, this is my theory, right? It's like everyone's realized that 70% of traditional education is a fucking scam, right? And bless our parents' hearts, like they thought that they were doing the right thing.
And maybe when they were kids, it was the right thing because the ROI was incredible back then.
They gave us their playbook that was outdated, and it led us all to spending a lot of money on something that ended up not being very valuable, right, overall. And so I think that's where a big boom of this alternative education space is really, really going to be there, right? In the same way that AI is booming, same way that personal brands have boomed. Another big one is people are changing the way that they're educating themselves, and they're starting to trust people online, whether they deserve that trust or not. And they're starting to learn their information from, like, if you want to learn how to do e-com or run Facebook ads, you probably shouldn't go get a 4-year marketing degree. You should probably listen to me. You know what I mean? Because I'm the one who's doing it, you know? And because there's no real way of educating someone in that space right now from traditional academia, and there's so much useless shit with these, not only the business degrees, which have their problems, but there's all these, philosophy, psychology, gender studies, all these dumb degrees that just don't actually translate to actually making any money or having any type of success. In the real world, people have turned to try to find these alternative mediums, right? And again, in the beginning of any big growing industry, there's going to be bad actors that take advantage of that demand, and they sell some bullshit course on a subject that they don't actually know. And it's going to cause some temporary hesitation in the market. In the same way, if you talk to an old person about the internet, they're a little bit scared of the internet. I don't want to put my credit card details in there. Or me, I'm like, cool, Apple Pay, like, sure. Like, I don't even read the terms, just send the money, right? There's going to be that initial hesitation from all the people that got scammed, but eventually there's going to be mass adoption. There's going to be some regulation around it. And these guys, to bring it back to the point, these guys like Iman, these guys like Hormozi, they realize that, right? They realize that not only can they sell a course and make a lot of money, and if they make a good one, they'll make even more money. But if they start partnering with the dealer, right, which is these platforms, it's going to be 10x, right? It's going to be multiples of what they can make by themselves.
It's fascinating. And I think what WOPs, or sort of, for those that don't know, these are 2 community platforms that you can host your own course product on.
Digital product.
Yeah. One of the things that WOP's doing that's so interesting is this ability to do like the clipping agency element of it, where, for example, I think who's a good example of this? It's someone who's done it. I think Conor McGregor recently did this, where they paid, I think it was like $200 per million views. So if you posted a video of Conor McGregor and you were linked to this challenge, and that video got 1 million views, you got $200. And you can do that. You can run 20 of those videos every day and see what's working from other people and just do these faceless accounts. And I think people are making some pretty crazy money with that. But it's also, from a Conor McGregor's standpoint, that is a crazy way to start getting your name out there. It's almost like what Andrew Tate did, but commoditized.
Very much so. So it's like, it goes back to like Gary Vee, it's underpriced attention, right? So like everyone knows that you can run ads, and for every $10 to $20 you spend, you can get 1,000 people to see your stuff. Where whenever you're working with clippers, on the other hand, it's much more of a merit-based system. If you take my content and you get me 1 million views, I'm more than happy to pay you $10 per X views, right? Where on Meta, if you're just running those ads, you're going to pay for your spend regardless, right? Whether it ends up working or not. Where what they found out is with some of these organic content creators, with some of these clippers, they can basically only pay if it works well and it gets in front of the right people and it's effective, right? Because like the only way stuff goes viral organically is if the masses love it, where ads are a little bit more forced. It's like, I'm going on your page, whether you like my shit or not. That's why you go on ads and everyone hates you in the comments often, for a lot of different businesses. Where a clipper, if they're able to go viral, it's because it's content that people want to see. So the reach almost ends up being much more valuable, and you're only paying for valuable reach versus like disruptive reach of people that hate you. It's a huge strategy. It's exactly what Tate did. It's exactly what Luke Belmar did. It's exactly what all these streamers are doing right now. They're basically finding out that they can pay these clippers to promote them, and they only are going to be paying for people that are successful about getting their name out there. It's a great strategy.
It's a great strategy. It does have its holes from the perspective of the most inflammatory stuff tends to go most viral, which from a branding perspective probably isn't the best. I mean, you take a Tate, for example. Everyone knows what happened with Tate. And then you take a Luke Belmar, for example, and, Luke had something. Luke went a little mainstream. And people don't really like Luke, before he had all that clipping stuff and went viral into the masses, he had a better reputation, it seemed like. And then, that video that went super viral of him saying he studied with the Johnny Walker. People are like, dude, this guy's an idiot. Like, this is ridiculous.
Sometimes you do listen to him and you're like, there's no way we should be listening to this guy. Like, this is probably not who we want to put who's a thought leader.
Exactly.
Right? Have you ever heard the saying that, this is a fun saying, and I think we see it play out in a lot of different ways outside of business, but it goes something along this. It's those at the ends often come to control the center. Have you ever heard that? It's like those at the ends of polarization. I think they say on the fringe. So at the basically the ends of the spectrum, whatever it may be, often become the ones that control the center. So like you can put this in politics. You can talk about Trump. You can talk about Tate. You can talk about Belmar. Talk about anyone who's been really controversial and then has become propelled as like a figure that a lot of people listen to. It's exactly that. It's like they said some really stupid shit that maybe a lot of people disagreed with, but a lot of people almost had a cult following too. And that cult following will propel them all the way towards the center to where everyone knows who this person is.
That is some wisdom right there.
Maybe
some truth.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. We don't know. I mean, it depends on what you're optimizing for completely. Like, for example, we were talking about the advantages of being a micro authority in a small niche, and being known well is so much more important than being well known.
Well, and what do you want to sell?
Exactly.
Do you want to sell something that costs 10,000 to 1,000 people? It's like, well, then you can make a ton of money doing that. If you sell something that's $10,000 and you sell it to 1,000 people, you're making some good money, right?
Oh yeah.
Or do you want to sell Hustlers University for $45 to 1 million teenagers and 20-something-year-olds around the world, right? Well, then you need a lot more eyeballs to make that business model work. Versus if you're trying to sell a high-ticket service to a business owner, you don't really need to get in front of that many people. You need to get in front of the right people.
Are you afraid that ads are going away in some ways with the way things are changing with clipping and ChatGPT shopping and all these things? Like, does it freak you out in that way? Or do you think it's been ingrained in human culture since products became a thing? It's marketing at its fundamentals. You think it's going away in some ways?
The way that we know it is going to go away,
Yeah.
right? Just like, ads used to be in print, then they're radio, and then they were on TV, and they're still on TV. Just not a lot of people are looking at them right now. And then
Seems like a bad ROI for those brands.
yeah, and then social media ads and Google ads, and then now we're kind of going back to like connected TV. Like ads on TV are getting really targeted, and therefore ads on TV are starting to work a little bit better. Starting to get ads across apps. We're starting to get ads built into these AI tools like ChatGPT. I'm sure that's right around the corner. So is it going to go away entirely? Absolutely not. People want to sell shit. Marketers know that, hey, if you want to sell something, you're gonna have to tell people about it, right? It's very fundamental in that way. Is it going to change in the way that we do it? Yeah, absolutely. It's going to change in the way that we do it. Now, is it going to get completely automated? I don't think so. Are the people that leverage automation going to probably do better than the ones that don't? Yeah, but I fully believe if you have a product or if you sell a service, you still need to tell people about it. And ads are the most, they're still the most scalable way to do it. Like
100%.
While there's an arbitrage with clippers and like if you're trying to build your personal brand and stuff like that, awesome. But Coca-Cola can't have a personal brand. You know what I mean? Like Coca-Cola needs to get 1 billion eyes, probably every couple of months.
And there's key man risk if you want to run a business that's a business.
Yeah.
You have to be the brand. You can't have a personal brand. In some ways.
Agreed. And I'm sure another thing like this just brings me to now I'm thinking about all these businesses that have blown up around personal brands. Like this is where we talked about AI and content creators or AI and personal brands. It's like, think about Prime, think about Feastables.
Yeah.
Think about, there's an amazing podcast with Mr. Beast lately. What's
Diary of a CEO?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Like absolutely phenomenal. Right. You see how these people are able to turn basically nothing into $1 billion brand in almost overnight. And it really makes you think like, how is this going to disrupt some of these big players like Coca-Cola, like all these big, conglomerate brands that are owned by nothing more than, the big banks of the world, right? It's really going to be disruptive. Now, I think it's going to go like two big avenues. A lot of people are going to do automated advertising and they're going to figure out ways to leverage AI. And then the other ones are going to lean into personal brands more than ever.
Dude, we could talk all day.
Okay.
Sadly, I think we're out of time, but dude, I appreciate you so much. This was a fun one. I really enjoyed this. Cool. A lot of fun avenues. Anything we haven't talked about today that we'd be remiss if we didn't cover, or any closing remarks you want to make to the audience or make people aware of, maybe AI stuff, things that they should check out, YouTube videos, anything that comes to mind for you?
I think like whatever it is, like you need to get on it yesterday. Like whether you want to get into any of these spaces that we talked about, like urgency is the word. Like urgency and like controlled anxiety, like, about these two different topics is going to be huge because it's going to affect everything. It's going to be, again, these two things are widespread nets. You're not going to be able to avoid them. If you're not getting into it, you need to get into it and leverage it in whatever business you're in. Outside of that, man, you got to find something that you like and you're going to do every day and show up on, because it takes a long time and you're going to hate more days than you like, probably, even if you like the thing overall. So you got to find a path that you feel like you can at least do for a long time and reap the fruit of. 100%.
And I think so many, for the people listening, like if this sounds overwhelming, like what you were saying before with the business owner who they didn't know how to, they weren't internet people. Yeah. If you're a young guy right now, there's that opportunity to be an AI person.
Yeah.
And then there's millions of businesses out there that could use your help. So the opportunities are out there. Just gotta pounce on it.
You can learn the skill in 20 hours.
100%.
Right? Like learn it pretty well. You're not gonna be a master. You can learn a skill well enough to sell that skill in 20 hours of dedicated 100%. Research and learning. So great place to end it. Appreciate you, bro. Yeah. It's been a pleasure. I'm glad we could get out to New York and do this. Absolutely, bro. Appreciate you. Cool. Let's go. Yeah. That was awesome.